Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning for another new day devotion. And I am so thankful to God that you and I are has been blessed with another glorious day. You know, one evening, my grandson and I, we were just sitting down watching some westerns, and it just seems like when one western went off, another better western came on. And as the last movie went off, we noticed that everyone in the house had gone to bed except for us. And my grandson, not being able to tell time, he knew it was late, and he looked up at the clock, and he says, "Papa, is it later?" And I kind of chuckled a little bit, and my reply was, "Son, it's later than you think." As so many of us, we get so busy with the affairs of life, with work, home projects, church functions, and even family activities. We sometimes lose track of time, and we don't quite get everything done that we wanted to do because of the fact that we found out that it's later than we thought. And as I thought about what my grandson had said, my mind thought on the late D.A. Knighting, who was a wonderful pastor who went home to be with the Lord. And he used to say all the time that time is winding up. He used to say that. He used to say another slogan that the sun is going down. As a young child, I never did really understood what he was saying or what he meant by that. But he also used to tell me that I will understand it by and by. And as I got older, I began to understand what he had meant when he was telling me that. And as I sit there and I watch the news, I see increasing violence, growing racial offenses, criminal act against little children. It seems like the casinos are getting larger, and for some strange reason, the churches are getting smaller. I believe I'm safe to say that it's later than what you think. And I try not to watch too much TV, because every time I turn the news on, it seems like pops up in front of me is some unisex group or some anti-social group or something of that another that's speaking out. But I don't hear anything being said from the group of the people of God. I don't hear anything that's being said from them. And and I know I'm not going to get very many likes on this video. Matter of fact, I might even get some thumbs down. But people, we are have to understand that there's folks in this world that's going to hell in handbaskets. And the people of God has, for some reason or another, went home and went to sleep. God needs us to wake up and get busy. And if nothing else, we need to at least watch and pray, because there are some things that's going on in the atmosphere that, as people of God, we have turned our heads from seeing. And because it's getting later than what we think, we have got to get about our Father's business. I remember reading in the book of Matthew 26, I believe it begins around the 36th verse, when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane. You remember that? And he took with him Peter, James, and John. And Peter, James, and John had no clue that very night was going to change their world forever. That very night, they were never going to be the same anymore. That very night was the making of a tragic ending but a glorious beginning that very night. And, I want to read the 40th verse of Matthew 26. And if you can, you can read along with me. I'll be reading out of the New King James Version. And this is one of the things that I want to point out. It says, "Then he came to his disciples and he found them asleep and said to Peter, 'What? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.'" My brothers and sisters, it's later than what we think. We can no longer turn our head at sin, as they did in 1 Corinthians 5. We could no longer pass or just walk past injustice as it was done in Luke 10 and 25. We can no longer hide behind the four walls, of our church buildings and share the gospel with a small group of people who's not going to go out in the world and share the gospel to anybody. We have got to realize that it is later than what we think. As men and as women of God, we have got to wake up. We have got to stand up. We have got to speak up. Why? Because we have to do this against all the things that positions itself against the things of God. It's later than what we think. And the enemy, is already in the camp. When Jesus went and he prayed 3 times, and he noticed as he began to look out, and he noticed that the enemy's already in the camp. He told him, he said, "Y'all might as well sleep on now, because the enemy's in the camp." But I want you to understand this one thing. It is time for us, you and I, to wake up and get about our Father's business. Why? Because it's later than what we think. It's time out for us fighting each other. It seems like the church folks is fighting church folks. I remember my dad used to say all the time, he says, "Don't fight your brother." He says, "Go out and fight the enemy." And we have got to understand that fighting our brothers and our sisters, that's not where the fights belong. The fight belongs out there. I believe Ephesians 6 and 12 says that we're not fighting against flesh and blood. That's not the enemy. The enemy is the evil rulers and the authorities in the unseen world. It's later than what we think, my brothers and sisters. And it's time for us to wake up and get about our Father's business. My name is Kurt Garfield. I'm pastor of the Scipio Baptist Church. And until we meet again, you keep walking and fighting like a champ. God bless you.